There we go. So State of Unreal will soon start. And we can talk a little bit already about what we see right here. It doesn't... Oh, it does show my cursor, okay. It's kind of nice to see what people come up with outside of gaming, outside of filming, what they use it for. Really interesting to see how people use it for visualizing architecture, like, or just planning an entire city here. It's really interesting to see what they are doing here. I love it. And of course the obvious games. Yeah, there's a thing outside of gaming, if you believe it or not. But so if anyone wants to join here, up to 2 people I'll leave to join the voice chat in my server. Yeah, there's a lobby voice chat room and I just drag you up. If you want to. Hey, look at that. Actually, well executed VFX there. But this looks pretty. We're just now at a really nice painterly art style. That Unreal Engine 5.8 and added they added non-photorealistic rendering directly into Substrate, so that makes a lot of things easier on my end, as I'm with an anime style will use NPR a lot. But there's also a lot of other things where people are now that it is like you don't have to put in post-process shading in order to get that effect anymore. Probably not. No, I don't think that this will be true, because Wuthering Waves did a lot to make Unreal Engine features from Unreal Engine 5 into Unreal Engine 4. Wuthering Waves is still on Unreal Engine 4, and having that massive of a jump is very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. They probably cherry pick from that, from Unreal Engine 5.8, of a feature from that, and put it into their own engine that is a branch of Unreal Engine 4. It's way more likely that they do that. Them going directly to 5.8 is very unlikely, as you have to do a lot to even make it possible. Their next game might as well. But when you do a development, you have like the versioning going upwards, you have to go with it. If you miss one single patch, if you want to go from 4.3 to 4.5, you already have a problem. You have to go to 4.4 first, then to 4.5, and slowly iterate upwards. But doing a jump that big already creates problems, because a lot of stuff you made will break. guaranteed. And as a studio, you cannot have that. You have to have massive funding to pretty much pull that off, and then even then it's a very, very big risk. That's the reason why you have Lumen in Woover, but they put Lumen in there as a cherry pick. They put features from Unreal Engine 5 to Unreal Engine 4, therefore edited the software immensely, and that way they also lost their ability to get any help from themselves because it's an edited engine. Your edit is most likely the cause that stuff is breaking. So if you want Unreal support, you have to stay on the original. You cannot work on the engine, because with that you lose every guarantee. They went around, they knew what they do. They basically made their own engine based on Unreal Engine 4. So kudos to Tokuro for that, because that's a really hard thing to do. It might be. I mean, we know that Hoyo's MMO will be on Unreal Engine, but that also has more of a realistic style to it, not an anime style anymore. Kind of weird to see, because at that point I have to ask then, what is Hoyo's identity, if not anime? It was really a weird thing to see. I mean, MiHoYo literally has as their slogan, "Tech Otakus save the world." If it's realism, where's the otaku part? I wanna... Maybe they... actually, maybe. Just maybe. The one they could pull it... One way I can think of how they can pull it off, if it is very Final Fantasy-like. Because basically, Final Fantasy, if you put it down to, it's anime in a realistic style. That's what Final Fantasy is. If you look at the Final Fantasy games, they have a realistic art style, but everything else about Final Fantasy is realistic. It's like, oh, everything is there. The animations do have an anime style, especially Final Fantasy 14. Oh yeah, Devil May Cry would fit in there as well. From what I've seen. I've never played the games. I still have to... I'm waiting for a remake at one point, so that I'm getting into it, but right now I'm treating them as too old to play because the controls are probably been a mess by now. Good for their times, but horrible for now. Maybe Devil May Cry 3 might be still good, but yeah, a lot of games that are purely action driven are going that route, that they are going realism as an art style, but animations is very, very anime. Oh, it's still starting. We're almost there. Oh. Hi. How are you doing, Martin? Good to see you. Let's see what they have to say. I'm very excited for this, by the way. That sounds perfect. It depends on how the realism is made. There are a few games that have realism that I really enjoy. But most realism games I don't. That game, for example, Expedition 33, I'm actually really excited to play that one day. And it has realism, so... Ooh. That was a nice NPR right there in that Marvel thing. The Homer Fortnite thing. I almost forgot about that.
Hi everyone, welcome to Unreal Fest. Are you ready? Let's go. Thank you so much for joining us here in Chicago, and thanks to everyone watching on the live stream. Once again, we're joined by luminaries from AAA game studios, indie teams, Fortnite creators, and filmmakers who are all shaping the future of entertainment. And we've got innovators from robotics, architecture, automotive, and so many more industries who are taking the power of Unreal to new frontiers. There are over 100 sessions and hands-on labs to choose from. So if you don't have the event app yet, take a quick snap of this QR code, download it, and build your plan for the next 2 days. Be sure to check out all the demos and games on the expo floor. Swing by the Learning Theater along with the Dev Lounge, where you can get some technical help from our team. So we're here to celebrate your success and give you a glimpse of where we're headed in the future. We have a lot of great stuff to show, but just a heads up, we're not doing a live tech demo on stage this year. The team's been really hard at work, making an awesome new engine release and building the foundation of Unreal Engine 6, which you'll hear more about later. Before we get into what's new, we want to give a shout out to a few groundbreaking projects. Last year, just before Unreal Fest, Sandfall Interactive released Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which, give it up,
This looks so
which
fantastic.
became the breakout hit of 2025. And now, a year later,
Still
the
have
game
to
has
play it,
received
but it
over
looks so
500
good.
awards, the most awarded game in history. Congratulations to the team for all of your achievements, and we can't wait to see what's next. Arc Raiders is another huge success story. From October to February, the extraction shooter
Stuff like
sold more
that
than
would
14
interest
million
me
copies.
less.
And Bark built the game's massive
I'm not so much
open
into
world,
shooters.
leveraging UE5 and Epic Online Services voice chat capabilities to give millions
Or
of players
PvP
an
in
awesome social
general.
experience at a
I'm not
peak
that
scale
much
of
into it.
960,000 concurrent users.
I'm not that much in
K-pop
PvP in
Demon
general.
Hunters was the most watched
I mean, I
movie in
played
Netflix
League of
history,
Legends when it came
winning
out,
2
yeah.
Academy
Because it was
Awards,
new, it was
a
exciting,
landmark
but I
moment
lost
for the
interest
animation
really
industry.
fucking fast.
Sony Pictures Animation and ImageWorks transformed their pipeline by moving to real-time
Great
previs
movie,
and
by the
layout,
way.
using Unreal
Really
Engine to cut
great
production time
execution.
by an estimated 25%. That's months of work saved. And because the team used real-time ready assets in production, we were able to pull off a Fortnite collab in record time. This was
K-pop
a full
Demon Hunters was
ecosystem
such a
moment
good
that kicked off
movie.
with a Demon Rush limited time mode, and it continued across Blitz, Reload, and Zero Build with cosmetics in the item shop. We did all of this and launched UEFN developer tools in 2 months.
Respect.
Unreal continues to gain momentum beyond entertainment. SAS
Oh,
is
I'm
an enterprise
smart.
leader in enterprise analytics, AI, and data
To just do it in there.
They're developing incredibly complex
incredible.
Unreal Engine digital twin simulations across industrial manufacturing, worker safety, life sciences, and other industries. Now, these digital twins help businesses make operational decisions in simulation before a single machine moves, a single worker is put at risk, or a single dollar is spent on the wrong configuration. All of this, games, animation, and enterprise solutions built on Unreal Engine 5. Now, we revealed UE5 6 years ago. Since then, release by release, we've shipped many features required to deliver stunning, high-fidelity open worlds running at 60 frames per second. We've also been working to unlock real workflow improvements so you can create faster and more efficiently. Nanite minimized manual LOD pipelines. Lumen nearly eliminated light baking. MetaHuman reduced the time to make great-looking characters from months to days to even minutes. Sequencer and Control Rig made
Yeah, but
it
only
possible
if you
to
go
animate
realism.
really complex character performances in Engine without leaving the editor. World Partition made streaming massive open worlds possible without leaning on critical engineering resources. It's hard to believe it's been 6 years since the launch of UE5.
Stylized
But it's
characters
inspiring
like
to see what
better
we've
than
done.
hyper stylized characters are still
To share what's in our
way
latest
better to be
release,
done
please
outside of
welcome
MetaHuman.
Mon ami, Simon Tourangeau.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning. It's great to be back to share the latest on Unreal Engine. Over the last few releases, the feedback we've heard most from
And
studios
if it's semi-realism
is make it
like
fast,
Fortnite,
make it
you get
stable.
away quite well.
So we've been focused on exactly that, performance. Take 5.7. We improved performance by up to 25% on the GPU and up to 35% on the CPU, giving you smoother frame rates.
Ooh, that sounds
Today,
good.
we're releasing Unreal Engine 5.8, which is all about building on that momentum to give you more headroom, fewer hitches, and less friction between an idea and what you can actually ship.
5.8
A big
is
part of 5.8
massive.
is maturity. Systems that were experimental or beta in previous releases are now crossing the line into production readiness. The headliner is megalights. Thousands of dynamic shadow casting lights and area lights in a scene at a fixed cost. What used to be a performance lift becomes a creative tool. Artists can light with fewer
Oh yeah,
compromises,
how they did
and
that
teams can
is
spend less time budgeting
genius.
every dynamic light. Around it, LiveLink Hub, Movie Render Graph, Chaos Cloud authoring through data flow, Audio Insights, and Iris are production ready too. We also made it simpler to scale to the different platforms. Lumen, our dynamic global illumination system, now has a lightweight mode called Lumen Light, designed to preserve much of the visual impact at a significantly lower GPU cost. That makes Lumen viable where it wasn't before, including on Switch 2. And that work is already helping drive further nanite optimization efforts for the platform.
It runs on the Switch too now.
Let's talk about something every developer
Okay,
in this
that's
room has felt.
impressive.
Yeah, the hitch, the frame spike, the long shader compile. The moment your game pauses and you wonder where all that time went. A huge part of that problem is shaders. So we've sharpened the compiler and improved deduplication to strip out redundant work. Less to compile, less to load, less getting in your way. In Fortnite,
Let's go.
that work combined with content changes contributed to a 68% reduction in shader count. Faster cooks, faster loads, lighter memory.
That is
Jason
massive.
and John's talk tomorrow goes deep on how they got there. But shaders are only half the story. The other half
I'm getting
is
more and more
pipeline
excited right
state
now because
objects,
this
or
is
PSOs.
massive.
A PSO is the bundle the GPU needs to draw an effect. Shaders, blend modes, render state, all of it. Miss one at runtime, and the driver has to assemble and compile it on the spot. That's your hitch. And those are the bugs that are notoriously hard to hunt. Luckily, we have just the guy to do it.
Of course. He's such a darling, by
So
the
in
way.
5.8, we've improved PSO pre-caching.
Definitely
Fallback rendering
following.
is far less visible while PSOs are still compiling. And the whole system is easier to tune, debug, and profile. These are not flashy changes, but if you've been chasing itches, you'll feel the difference the first time you boot. And we're not done. We're working with Microsoft and hardware partners on advanced shader delivery, a DirectX 12 initiative that allows us to ship pre-compiled shaders to players, moving more shader work out of the player's runtime experience. The rollout is ramping, and we'll let you know more about this soon. Now, here's a brand new experimental feature we're shipping in 5.8, mesh terrain.
Oh yeah, mesh
We
terrain
wanted
is
to
so
move beyond the
good.
limits of height map-based landscapes where every point can only move in one direction, and the fixed grid means you can't adjust the resolution to add detail or optimize areas. Mesh terrain is a new way to alter complex terrain without being locked to a height field. And it's more than just a mesh. It's partitioned for collaborative workflows, supports world partition streaming, and is designed to scale across platforms using the same source assets while tuning the runtime representation for each platform using Nanite when available. With mesh terrain, you have full 3D manipulation capabilities. Overhangs, tunnels, floating islands, shapes you simply couldn't build before. And because it's mesh-based, you can also control tessellation at the triangle level. That means adding detail exactly where it matters while saving memory and performance where it doesn't. As you'd expect, you can paint material layers, but also additional attributes, and it supports virtual texture with automatic UV generation.
This is the one
Mesh terrain uses
5.8
non-destructive
feature I'm
modifiers
the
and
most
procedural
excited
tooling,
about.
so iteration
So
becomes
good.
dramatically easier. Everything can be layered, reordered, combined, and adjusted at any point in time. So you can literally move mountains. It also works natively with PCG and
Because they
comes
make
with an
the job.
expanded modeling toolset. But best of all, in our ongoing Fortnite optimization efforts, mesh terrain has a smaller memory footprint and runs faster than landscape. Higher quality, lighter costs,
Wait,
more
faster than
creative and
landscape?
technical freedom. That's mesh terrain. Another big focus of 5.8 is helping you go faster from idea to result.
Faster
Performance capture has matured to
than...
scale from one operator at a desk to a full mocap stage with
Okay,
control
that's my
over
button.
every recording device on set, including video. And we're taking that further.
Because the normal terrain is
Earlier
already
this year,
fucking
Mesh
fast.
Capade joined Epic, bringing world-leading technology for markerless motion capture from video. We've already started integrating it into the ecosystem, and today we are releasing the MetaHuman Animator markerless motion capture plugin on Fab. You can drive a character's body, face, and hands from regular video. No suits, no markers, video in, animation out. For
Sadly, it
animators
only works with MetaHuman.
pursuing feature quality work, this is our most significant animation release yet. We've made high-end animation workflows more interactive, more intuitive, and more connected to the creative process. From sculpting directly on stylized rigs, to controls that live on the character itself, to
Why
simplified
the mesh
timeline that keeps you
density
focused
is
on the
high
performance.
there?
These are the same tools our animation team uses every day, and now they're available to everyone, and we're releasing the sample with 5.8.
That's a very high mesh
On the cinematic
density.
side, offline depth of field gets a major upgrade. We now render the blur the way a real camera makes it, by sampling the scene from multiple points across the lens.
But probably for
So
a
you get
movie, not
physically
for a
accurate
game.
focus, even on translucency and thin geometry. For productions working with ultra-high resolution media, the new tiled MIP-map video format gives you
Depth of field
compressed
is
video
so
that
good.
holds up at scale. It only decodes the tiles and MIP level your viewport actually needs, so you don't pay to process pixels no one is looking at. So that's the flyby. If any of this caught your ear, you can find deep dive sessions in the Unreal Fest app. And if 5.8 is about reducing friction across the engine, there's one more place we're starting to do that, how people interact with the editor itself. But tell you more, here's Michael. Thank you.
Bring it on, Michael. Show us what you can.
Thanks, Simon. Now, at times, making games can be hard, expensive, and slow, where the gap between what you can imagine and what you can make is held back by technical overhead. I don't know about you, but spending hours in a node graph trying to untangle and understand what's going on just to change one thing is not my idea of creativity. There has to be a better way to do this. So that's what we've been working on. Tools that enable you to build faster and iterate more.
Adlings are invading the
Now,
void
Unreal
for
has
90
been built on a
seconds.
simple idea. Your source, your pipeline, your workflow. Give developers complete control over the tools and get out of the way. That philosophy hasn't changed. We're just applying it to large language models. Now in 5.8, we've implemented an MCP server that acts as a bridge between Unreal and any model that you want.
Doesn't mean
For
that
this
it is
presentation,
bad.
we're going to be using Claude Code, but you can use Gemini, your own custom model, whatever you want. Enabling the Unreal MCP is as simple as turning on the plugin, doing a bit of config, and connecting to the model of your choice. And everything you're about to see today runs on that setup. Now, these are still early days,
Okay.
and models will still do some really unpredictable things. However, with this approach, we maintain the ability to go in and edit as you would any Unreal scene. Okay, let's see this in action. On the left, we have Unreal Engine. On the right is a terminal running Claude Code. You can see every message going back and forth. Claude Code is talking to Unreal through the MCP server, reading the scene, and taking actions directly inside the engine. So let's start with something small, a modern living room. We start by giving the model some context, what we want to build, and whereabouts in the level. And to make sure everyone can follow along, we're showing a summarized version of each prompt as we go. But if you want the full details, you can still see that in the terminal window. We're going to speed things up from here for presentation purposes, but everything you're seeing is real work happening inside the engine. So we can ask for the basics, a sofa, a rug, and a coffee table. Then fill it in with chairs, a lamp, and a side table. Semantic search, which is part of the 5.8 release, pulls assets from your library.
Okay, basically LLM-based
Because this is Unreal,
splattering.
we can also manually add a chair.
Not too
Describe it as a
bad.
reading nook, and the model will furnish the room accordingly. Every step here is a creative decision that you're making. Models are good at broad iterations. You're good at knowing exactly what you want.
As long as it's
Those same
not doing the
principles work whether
modeling
you're
part and
furnishing a room,
everything, just the
whether you want to
splattering.
scale up and build an entire city. So let's take that same approach and build a city. You start by drawing the boundary. From there, you can decide where the districts go.
Okay, yeah, that's PCG, so it's just
characteristics each one
splattering.
has. Highways cut through on your direction. And from those, the road network starts to fill in. Buildings come up. The model here is using semantic search to find the right assets from your library and place them in
Yeah,
the
they
level.
don't show how the
Ask for a
nodes
forest around
look,
the
but
edge,
because the
and it can fill that in.
city builder like this is
Every
in its
step,
own is
you're
very
making calls.
impressive.
What do you end up with? It's not a rendered image. It's real geometry, real procedural content generation graphs that you can open, edit, and modify. And this works for a whole team too. Other developers can work on their own sessions, building assets and dropping them straight into the city. The road network adjusts, the blocks update, and the city absorbs it. Different people, different sessions, and it all works together. So how does all of this actually work?
Oh no,
With the MCP server as
the only thing
bridge
it does
between
is
Unreal
splattering.
and your model,
You still need the
it
people
gives your
there
model
to
the
set
ability
everything
to read your
up.
scene, understand
And
your
this is
assets,
not killing
and
any
make
jobs.
changes directly in the engine. And because it's open, you're not locked into any particular model or
What
workflow.
they showed was splattering.
Now,
The
while
same
large
what
language models
PCG
are
in
great
itself does.
at language and reasoning,
So
they don't naturally think spatially.
there was
Unreal
no
does. To
that
help
it
connect the two, we're giving you over 80
codes for
foundational
you,
procedural
that it
content
is
generation building blocks, a library of examples,
doing the
and skills
modeling
that
for
encode
you or
specific
anything, or
Unreal
texturing.
workflows.
And there was none of that
Now,
kind.
this is experimental. And it's
All
gonna
they
keep
were
getting
talking about so far
better. This is where you come in.
were
Tell us what's
splattering,
working.
so how to
Tell us what's
put
not.
objects in your
That's how we're going to make
levels.
this better. Now that the city is built, we want to light it. Getting lighting right on Unreal is a skill that means touching dozens of parameters that all need to work together. Light balance, cloud materials, sky atmosphere, post-process. That's a lot to know. But by creating a dedicated lighting skill, you just describe what you want, and the model orchestrates that all for you. Ask for a purple dusk, and there it is. Under the hood, it's adjusting all those settings in concert. Then we can ask for overcast skies. And this is a good example of where the model gets things wrong. It misread the sky and tweaked the cloud material the wrong way. But you can see exactly what happened, correct it in the next prompt, and you're right back to where you want to be. Because models also have real-world knowledge, you can just say, Bogota at 9:30 in the morning. And it will go and figure out the sun position, direction, temperature, and atmosphere that actually matches that. And if you want to match something specific, you can take an image. So here we used one of Vancouver, and ask it to replicate that look. It uses screenshots to assess and iterate until it gets there. And everything is still editable. Grab a road and move it, the city adjusts around it.
But that's
Ask it to
general
make a building
PCG.
taller or more prominent in the scene, and it does that.
There's no LLM behind
Then you can go in and
PCG.
modify any individual asset, making it exactly the way that you want it. This isn't a generated image that you're stuck with. It's a real scene in Unreal, and you control every part of it. Now, let's
I
look at
want
one
to see the
intersection.
PCG graph of
We
that,
wanted
what
to
you
add a
show,
hazard zone.
because that is way more
Flashing
interesting.
lamps, steam, and a sense of danger as the player gets close. That normally means days of back and forth across multiple disciplines. So here's what we did instead. The warning lamp already has a material. But let's say you want to add something to it. You ask the model to read the existing graph, build the new logic, and insert it right where it needs to go. You can then jump into the material instance editor and tweak the final values by hand. Then you take a Niagara template and extend it, adding a single parameter that drives multiple emitters at once, giving you control over the whole effect in one place. You build out the HUD through prompting in UMG, status display, danger meter, warning states. Then blueprint logic ties it all together. A proximity trigger connected to the material, the Niagara system, and the HUD. Walk in,
It's so
and
far
everything
stuff that
fires at once.
supports artists, not
All right, so let's run it.
replaces
Lamps are
them.
off, it's quiet. She walks toward the site, the lamps come on, the steam starts rising. She steps inside, lamps are flashing, steam's pouring in, and the site is erupting. What we've shown here today would take months to build by hand. But with the MCP server and Unreal, our artists were able to make all of this in days. When you lower the technical friction, you can iterate more and make better games.
But
That's what we've built.
see here that
This
they
is
put
really
a
just a
strong
starting point.
emphasis to
Bring your own
support
primitives,
in the
your own
artist, not to
examples, your own
replace the
skills built
artist,
around your pipelines. The more your team puts in
which
over time,
is
the more
a
useful it gets for
very,
everyone on the project.
very important point here.
We're shipping the MCP server, the PCG primitive plugin, and the skills we've developed as part of 5.8 today. It's open, and it's yours to extend. Go download it, point your model at it, and see what you can do. If you want to go deeper, we've got 2 chances to catch
Yeah,
a tech
man,
talk here at
you
Fest.
cannot
Come find
replace artists with that. If they
Now I'm
will
gonna hand it
try,
over to Pat to talk about
they will
how
run
some of what
against
I've
the
shown you
wall and be like,
impacts
oh,
linear content
shit,
creation
I
in
didn't
the
see that there's a wall. Well, let's try again, and then they ran one again against the wall until they made it. Oh yeah, it has no, there's no use trying to
Hi, everyone.
break through
My
the
name's Pat
wall by
Tubon.
running
I've got a
against
background in
them.
film and television. For media and entertainment, the MCP
Of course,
plugin that Michael just
some
showed you
industries
opens up a
will,
wide range of new connections
right?
to LLMs,
But they will
but also to
horribly
image and video
fail
models
and
like
regret the
Nano Banana,
decision because
GT
they ruined
GPT
their own
Image,
reputation by
Rockimagine,
that.
Luma, Seedance, and many more. Michael was
And
telling you
then
about
nobody
tools in the present,
buys their
and I'm gonna
projects
cover tools
anymore
for creating linear
unless they don't
content
care
that are
about all the
released early
AI
next year
stuff.
that give you control over these
But
models.
when you think about that, 90% of
approach to
America,
using
for
an image
example,
model is to
is
start by crafting a
against
text prompt.
AI.
In this case, I wrote a novel describing a fictional scene in Epic Motors, a 1950s gas station. But in professional situations where you have to hit story points, match exact continuity, and deliver what your creative director wants, you would typically communicate visually through sketches and pre-riz. Unreal is great for that.
Yeah, and then they
So,
will
to get
realize
started
when
in
you
Unreal,
let people
I scouted the
do
derelict corridor
massive
scene from
overtime,
Pixel that's available
they
on
will
Fab,
not have
which
the
I
same
quickly
capacity
customized
as they
to
used
look
to
like the
have
gas station
anymore.
layout I
And then
needed.
suddenly, oh,
I worked in detail
wait,
lighting mode
we need to
since I was
hire
just using
the
this for
artist
walking to
back.
this stage. I dropped in some of the appropriate assets from that map: shelving, a propane tank, a cabinet, and also made proxy shapes for the assets that I didn't have.
The tendency
log
is not
counter, more
even
shelving, a
to,
cash register, and an ice chest.
right now, the tendency is
Then
not
I backed
to
up and framed my
even
camera view,
have artists
animated a
employed
boom down
anymore.
and a push
The
in that I'd
tendency is
later
that
use for
they
the
only
shot.
go for contract work right now.
But before I tackled the full video creation, I had to create a single style frame.
So at one point you
the
will have
visual
no
reference of my scene.
specialists anymore. You
To
will
do
only
that,
have
I used the model
generalists.
to combine a depth pass plus the prompt novel I'd written before. The depth conditions the models to understand the layout and the framing.
Yeah, but stupid
how that
companies
works
like
using our
EA
new tools in
did
Unreal.
that.
I asked Claude Code, connected by our
And
MCP plugin,
maybe some
to use
indies that
Unreal's
thought
movie render
that
graph
they
to create a
could
4K
make
image,
quick
plus all
cash
the rest.
is something that
Asking for an
failed more
Unreal
than...
render to create the image was a signal to Claude Code that I wanted to give my model
Oh,
my depth
no.
pass, but use the creative look described in my prompt. I then fired off that request. And while it was being
You
generated,
fell
I
down
inspected
past
the graph that it made for
the
task.
stairs.
Image models
And
are
those,
hungry for
what are
helpful
those,
data and
what are
conditioning,
those
and so I prepared a
toys
process
called
that pulls
again? Those
valuable visual data from the
rainbow
Unreal
colored
scene
spiral
and
that
passes it
you
to the image
toss
model. In
downstairs
this
and it
case,
looks so
Google's Nano Banana Pro.
entertaining.
Now, let's take a look at this image more closely.
Those companies fell down faster
You can
than
see that it did a
that.
great job matching the visual
They
detail I asked
regretted
for.
what they did.
Most importantly,
Really fucking
it didn't place
bad.
things randomly. It matched the composition of my Unreal viewport exactly. From there,
Oh yeah,
I could
tech
start to
companies.
iterate.
Okay, tech companies and games are
For example, I wanted
complete
another
different.
tire on the floor, but I didn't have that particular asset because it was
There
an
are
image of my
overlaps,
creation.
but
Using the
they
new image
have
segmentation tools in the editor to
entirely
mask the
different
tire,
concerns.
I selected both the mask and the image, and with a predefined workflow, asked Claude Code to extract it, repair it, and mesh it
I
using
mean,
Tripmo 3.1.
yeah, but in the end,
And then I double-checked that graph
they're-
and I supervised the work.
if they do it
Now, of
often
course,
enough,
this is not a real-time
their
process. So after several minutes, I got my
image
textured
is
tire mesh.
ruined to the
I
point
saved
that
it to the content
nobody
browser,
wants to
where I
work
then
for them
pulled in the
anymore.
tire and positioned it in 3D space. And finally, I asked Claude Code to add the tire to the image. Let's take a look at that result. So if we compare my UE passes with the tire in it, you can see that it put the new tire where I asked it to, and it made it look like a variation of the generated tire, not an exact duplicate.
Not entirely, no.
Right, now let's add something
Go
totally new to the
overgeneralizing
scene by
there.
going back to the viewport for another round in 3D. I went browsing on Fab and found one of our junkyard car parts for Megascans. I picked the specific fender piece that I wanted that had a 1950s look modeled into it to leave less to the image model's imagination. I asked Claude Code to add it to my image and make it look like it had been newly repainted. And after another image processing step in Nano Banana, that was done.
Okay,
Okay,
this
now
is
that I produced
now
my
the stuff
style
that is
frame,
kind of
I was ready to
concerning
go
me.
back
Like,
to our new Unreal tools to
this
generate a
stuff
video
right
of our scene.
here is generative
Here's my
AI.
shot camera move again. If you
This
recall,
is-
this is the move that I created at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Over on
we're
the
trying
right,
to
I
replace
ran a sequence
textures.
render node that represents the depth over
Fucking
the entire
down.
range.
This is
I'm
stupid
gonna
as
use the
fuck
same
if you
depth
do that.
restyling process with the video that I did on the still image. I supply the style frame I just generated to the video model as a first frame reference, and you can see that I added a cat, just hoping for a bit of life. And then I set my video generation node to use
Oh,
CDance
yeah.
2.0, set the resolution, add
Oh,
an audio,
everything-
and then I was off. Once that process
So
had run for
everything
several
looked
minutes,
like
I have a video that looked like this.
more towards realism, and the cap looked like
Clearly,
plastic.
this is showing you that I can control the camera, but nobody controls a cat.
You can so tell that it is
let's leave the
generative
garaging
AI. It
cat
looks so
and move
fucking
on to the
bad.
apartment.
This
is a different workflow that we've been building in parallel.
Why would
for more rapid
anybody
concepting
want
with
that?
diffusion
It
in
looks
your
so
viewport
fucking
side by side.
horrible. The
What you're seeing
cat
here in
looked
this
like
video
it doesn't
is the UE
belong
viewport on the
there.
left that was streaming to a local Flux Klein image model on the right. The local model result isn't temporally coherent. It was stamping a new image on every frame and
Okay,
only running a few
that
frames
right
a
now,
second, which is why
that
it seems
at
slow
least
over
looks
here on the right.
somewhat
Let me show you
solid.
how intuitive it is to use. I prompted for sunset lighting at first, and then decided to see what it would look like if there had just been a fire in this apartment. And then I tried something more extreme, like being underwater at the bottom of a
Again.
murky pond. The real
All right.
benefit you get here is being able to go back to the UE viewport, interact with the assets, and see them repositioned.
Some stuff is
through this
really
unique
good,
fusion
by the
lens.
way.
Not
To
only that,
answer
but
your
you can try
question,
more
Alvin.
illustrated looks like a charcoal drawing
But
or even a watercolor painting.
other stuff is like the
As models get more capable and hardware
generic
improves, it's not hard to project this
generative
workflow
AI
forward to a time
bullshit.
when diffusion
Like, look
is
at that
real-time
painting
and
here.
temporally consistent.
Don't tell me that looks good.
Okay, let's look
Looks
at some
so
other
fucking
examples of Unreal
horrible.
Engine scenes restyled by artists in the engine using a variety of sources, some of which are premium environment packs from our
It's like
friends at
where you can
Fashion
directly
Review,
tell it was
some of which are our
AI.
own internal assets,
Why would you
including the
want
city sample.
that?
Starting from quality source assets leaves less room for interpretation by the models. We think these new UE tools are a force multiplier that will give artists more opportunities for creative iteration
Here's the thing.
on their work.
The
alongside
crowd
the real-time
simulation
animation,
there
modeling,
looked
texturing, and
good
virtual
from
production
afar, but
tools
up
that you can come to
close,
count on in
horrible.
Unreal Engine. So this is where we're headed. The MCP server that's enabling all this is experimental.
So as long as
Interesting
you
here for
keep
image and
all
video
that stuff
creation will be
as a
available
background,
early next
as
year.
like far
We're
away
on this
from the
journey
camera,
together, and we're aware that
you're
for these models to be
fine.
truly useful, we need to focus on not just lowering technical complexity, but also
But
giving you full creative control.
as soon as
over
it's
what you
close
make.
to the camera, closer to becoming a hero asset, it's way too bad. Don't mind if
Thanks, Pat.
people
That was
use
awesome.
AI, but please, at
All right,
least
so
hide
now
it good
you've seen
enough.
more, even great features, workflow improvements.
If
that
it's
are all
so
gonna help you
obvious,
make
like
awesome
in
games
those
and content.
presentations just right
So let's
now,
talk about distribution. 2025 was
I
a year
want
of
a big
growth for the
slap.
Epic Game Store, and we're off to a great start
I
in
really want.
2026. In our
Like,
year in
don't-
review, we
don't
reported that
insult
December monthly active
people
users reached
watching.
78 million, an all-time record for the Epic
people
Game Store.
will know that it is AI.
Players
If
spent
it's far away,
$1.16
you
billion
might be
in
able to
store
fool
across
us,
third-party and first-party titles. That's up 6%
but
year-over-year.
not with that close-up
If you just
camera
look at
stuff.
third-party titles, player spending hit
Forget
$400
about
million.
it. AI is
That's
way
up
too bad for that,
57%
and will
year-over-year.
always be way
We
too
now have over
bad for that.
6,000 games in the catalog from over 3,000 partners. We offer multiple ways for you to help your business grow. In June of 2025, we announced that developers would keep 100%
So
of
if
the
for
first
anything,
$1 million of
AI
net
is
revenue
only good
per
for
product
very,
per
very
year,
far backgrounds.
with an
Like
industry-leading
having
88-12
like a
rev share
mountain in the
kicking in after
very,
that
very
million.
far back,
We've got Epic First Run,
almost completely
gives
faint
developers the
visible.
opportunity to keep 100% of
Yeah.
net revenue for the first 6 months
You
before launching
might
on
be
other
able to
stores.
pull that
We
off,
also have
but if you pull
Launch Everywhere with Epic, which
anything
gives
AI
UE
generates in
developers a
front of the
reduced
camera,
engine royalty rate of 3.5%, down from
forget
5%
about it. It
when
doesn't
they
work.
sim ship their title on the Epic Game Store. Finally, we continue to push on Epic Rewards, granting 5% back to players on all third-party content purchases that are processed by Epic. Now, last year we had a 20% rewards boost.
And
through
this
the
is
back
the
half of
funny
year.
part.
And we're seeing players
It looks
continue to
so
spend at
fucking
heightened
bad even
levels
after
using the
so
rewards
many
that they
years. I mean,
accumulated and
I mean,
earned
it's
during
been,
the promotional
it's been
period.
15 years by now.
In fact, spending through the first 4 months of the year on
And they
third-party
still
games
say
is up
AI is the
over
future.
40%
No,
year-over-year.
it won't. It will
So
never
beyond
be.
these great incentive programs, we're really working to connect the Epic Game Store more closely with the Fortnite ecosystem. And that'll give developers access to an even larger player base. Take our collab with HoYoverse as an example. When players purchased eligible
that
items
was
in
big.
Honkai Star Rail on the Epic Game Store, they were granted a Stellaron Hunter Blade outfit that could be used across the entire Fortnite ecosystem, in Battle Royale or in thousands of UEFN games. So some players discovered Honkai Star Rail for the first time in Fortnite. Then they went on to spend on the game in the Epic Game Store, and their spend unlocked a new outfit that they brought back into Fortnite. It's a virtuous circle for both developers and players. We've got over 30 million.
That way, Epic
30
did
million, that'd be
way
a lot.
more
30
than
similar
Steam
collabs
did for
planned
HoYoverse.
2026, with more coming in 2027.
Steam
We're
only
delivering great
caused
incentives for both
complications for
developers and for
Hoyo.
players, but we need to make the store experience better. And over the last several months, the team's been hard at work rebuilding the launcher. Our goal here is to dramatically improve performance with reduced cold start times and much faster browsing. We've also been re-architecting the back end of the store, which is going to allow us to ship new player-facing features faster and more
Part of
frequently.
it is
be improving
also
search and
because
adding a lot of long-awaited
most
community
customers
features,
do not even give
and
it a
doubling
chance
down
to
on
even
delivering
become
an
better.
overall better player
Systems
experience.
like that are
We are
living
committed
on
to growing the
feedback,
Epic
and
Games
if it's
Store,
just like, oh
and we're
no,
not
we don't
relenting in our
want to
mission to give
use it,
developers access to a
how can they
high-value
become
global player
better?
base with the most favorable terms in the industry. You can learn more about our plans for the Epic Games Store in this session tomorrow. And now that we've covered a bit of what's happening in our ecosystem, let's hear from some of the teams putting it all to work. First, 20 years after Emergence Day, the Coalition is finally telling the story they've always wanted to tell.
I would say
Darker,
right
more
now,
alive, and running at 60 frames per second with hundreds
Steam
of
is
shadow
just
casting lights.
slightly
Then
better
Riot Games
than
is
the
doing
Epic
something
Game Store.
most studios would never attempt. Rebuilding a live
Just
PC mobile
slightly.
game with
It used to be
300 million
that
players on a
Steam
new
is
engine,
way
all
better.
while keeping the live service running.
But
Finally,
Epic Game Store
the small
is
team at
actually
Neon
catching
Giant
up.
set out to build the densest, most lived-in city they could have ever imagined. A city where every frame tells a story, and every choice you make becomes a part of that story.
It is
Three
not
games,
as prominent in the
three very
gaming
different
space,
worlds,
yes, but
one
it
engine.
will.
Up first, please welcome Kate Rayner from the
It's
Coalition.
catching up. If you look at the numbers, more and more people are using the Epic Game Store now. Alright.
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Rayner. It's great to be able to join you today. Gears of War will celebrate its 20th anniversary this year, and Unreal Engine has been the foundation of every game since the series first debuted in
Yeah.
2006.
Competition is good.
For Gears of War E-Day, we made the decision to invest in Unreal Engine 5 and start with a blank hard drive and rebuild everything from scratch to achieve the believability of a world in chaos. Emergence Day is the darkest day in our universe, the day the monstrous locust horde emerged from the ground to lay waste to humanity. And to truly feel the emotional impact of that loss, we needed to return to a dark
I like
and
how the
gritty visual
creatures
style.
looked,
Light
but
and
I
shadow
don't like
do
how
more
the
than just set a tone.
characters looked.
And with Unreal Engine 5, we've pushed our signature Gears style to the next level. So let's show you a taste of what we've built.
But the level design looks really good. But for me personally,
Welcome to
the
Pay and Save Superstore
characters
in
are way too
downtown
bulky.
Kelowna. In previous games,
like you're walking
a space
around
like
as a
this was
can.
limited to 3 shadow casters in view. With megalights, we now have hundreds of light sources, all casting shadows at 60 frames per second on Xbox Series X.
Yeah, the level design is impressive.
This TV display wall utilizes animated area lights with light functions that are driven by the video itself fully on the GPU.
This is
They
impressive.
each cast eerie and unsettling dynamic shadows with soft penumbra across the scene. The Pay and Save is a great example of how we've created environments with
Just hope they
geometry
also have a
collections
slimmer
of
version of the
assets,
characters,
like this tiled pillar.
so that you can choose if you are want to be completely bulky here like that, or
These dynamic objects
you want
pass
to
and
be
receive light
more
correctly,
on a,
so destruction
well,
stays visually grounded
this is the
exactly
thing,
the way you'd
more on
expect
the
in
realistic
real
side.
world. Let's check out the freezer
Not every
section.
soldier is like a
All
bodybuilder.
these freezers have multiple area lights inside them to simulate that realistic lighting effect of the frozen food section of your local grocery store.
This looks good.
During combat, bullets create a dynamic shatter point in the glass. When it shatters, all the pieces collide with the environment using hardware ray trace collisions with physically accurate, translucent reflections.
I'm more impressed by the lighting.
It's amazing to see how many light sources there are in here. There are hundreds of them, from the
That's
small
the
lights
impressive
on
part for
Marcus's
me,
armor
yes.
to the large spotlights on the ceiling. There is no way we'd ever be able to achieve this effect or have this many ray-traced area lights on current generation hardware without megalights.
This
A
is
staple
the
of the Gears
part that makes me
franchise,
excited
E-holes
too,
are
but
back in Gears of War E-Day. So let's open some up. Without all the monsters in the way, you can see all the volumetrics and smoke lit perfectly. One of the things we're super excited about that was unthinkable in the past is having shadows on every single one of our muzzle flashes.
I want to see the
This is
wireframe
a
of the
really great
environment
improvement
now.
that adds to the dynamic combat of Gears with a more believable firing
Because those
experience
rift
that
openings
puts you right in the middle of the
look
action
like they...
like never before.
The rift opening looked like they actually utilized nanite. Which means, in that case, there's currently an actual rift.
Our game isn't limited to just a single space. We can explore the entire city of Kelowna with tens of thousands of shadow casting lights.
If they utilize that right,
Delivering
it's impressive
EA with
and
this level of
performant.
visual fidelity has not been easy. But we can iterate so much faster with hardware ray trace lumen compared to the baked lighting we used in the past. With megalights, our lighters are no longer constrained
now they
by the
just
number
make
of
it work
real-time
with
shadow
a
casters,
3010.
giving them the freedom to light our game
And
with
then
the
I,
same complexity as the
if you
real
make it
world.
work on a 3010 graphics card,
And
I'm
we
impressed.
have 100 times the geometric detail in our assets due to Nanite's micro-polygon rendering. All of these systems work together to create a highly scalable engine that allows us to consistently deliver a visual showcase across Xbox and PC. As developers, many of us know there is
As
a
massive
difference
as
between a
those
compelling
features
demo
are,
and delivering a
oftentimes
fully
they
realized
require
vision at 60 frames per second.
beasts of hardware.
Coalition is pushing Unreal Engine 5 and the hardware it runs on to their limits to reimagine the Gears world at an unprecedented level of detail. We can't wait for
You
to
cannot
see for
play that with a
yourselves
1080.
when E-Day launches
You have
on
to
October
upgrade
6th.
eventually. That's
Thank you.
too old of a graphics card. 1080 Ti. Oh, well, how old is it by now? 20 years? I think it's 15 or 17. No. 10 years ago, we already were at the end of the 20 series. And that monster looks like it's not belonging there, but in a game of Doom. Okay, what I see here, they are all bulky characters. There's no regular human being. They're all bodybuilders.
Hi, I'm Gina, head of tech at Riot on Teamfight Tactics, or TFT as we like to call it. TFT is an auto battler that we originally built as a game mode on the same engine as League of Legends. We built it fast, about 18 weeks from idea to launch, and then it grew way beyond what we expected. TFT has become a leading strategy game with more than 300 million players across the ecosystem, which is kind of wild to say out loud. We've just announced that TFT is moving to Unreal Engine with our next set, Enchanted Wilds. Rebuilding
That
a
would be
live game on
exciting
a
for
new
some.
engine while it's still running is
I have a good
not
friend
something
who
most
likes
games choose
to
do.
play TFT a lot.
It's years of work across engineering, art, design, and production, and that gets even harder when your game is still shipping new sets, events,
Not caring
everything
about
to
LOL at
players on
all,
a
but
regular cadence.
TFT,
But that's what we
he likes a
decided to
lot.
do. I joined Riot to work on TFT, and about 6 weeks in, we made the call to move the game to Unreal. And pretty quickly, we realized this wasn't just about moving engines. It was about what became possible. Building on shared technology, reusing more of what we create, spending less time rebuilding foundations and more time building TFT. One example is the gameplay ability system. It gives us a more structured and flexible way to build gameplay as the game grows. And for a
Yes, it's
game
perfect
like
for games
TFT,
like that.
where every set brings new mechanics, content, and ways to play, that kind of common foundation matters a lot. It gives us shared building blocks, abilities, attributes, and effects
I lose the use
that can
case
be
as,
reused
as well a lot.
very different parts of the game.
Gameplay ability system is
that lets us move
really
faster
a
over
good
time.
helper.
Adlings are invading
With
the void for
Unreal,
90
we had
seconds.
to rethink how the game was built. Architecture,
Especially when
networking,
you have a lot
gameplay,
of skills,
even the way the game data
gameplay
is
ability
structured had
system
to
is
change.
a
And
must.
early versions of the game in Unreal just didn't feel right.
It makes your
Performance
life
was
so
rough.
much
We
easier.
had builds running at around 12 frames per second in an 8-player game, which I'm sure all of you can imagine was not exactly the target. So, the first goal for us wasn't innovation.
If you have an
It was
RPG
clarity.
or
We
anything
had
like
to get
Diablo,
TFT back. And that meant reworking
definitely
a lot of
use the
systems inside
gameplay
Unreal.
ability system.
Some gave us a
Even
strong
for
starting
shooters, it
point.
makes sense to
Others
have the
require
gameplay ability
significant
system because it
customization,
can,
and
because of
some were
all the
rebuilt from
different
scratch.
weapons.
For example, networking.
You can then attach
As we
that to the
built more
weapon
of the game and
itself,
added
and
more
it does
content, we
all the
started
work
to hit
for
limits.
you, all the
With a
calculation
huge number
stuff,
of
because
gameplay
you
actors
get
in a
set
match,
parameters
the
in
default
there.
replication approach wasn't enough to meet our server and bandwidth performance targets. So,
Of
with
course,
Epic's
if you
help,
do it,
we
if
evolved
you
our
do
approach,
like
adopting iris
a
networking with
platformer game,
push-based
you will
replication
not
and faster ways to get the
need
performance we
gameplay
needed.
ability system.
The hard part wasn't getting something working, it was making it work at scale. Gameplay was another big one. We leaned heavily into the gameplay ability system. It's powerful and helped us get something up and running quickly, which, as many of you know, matters a lot early on. But TFT has sets, modes, and gameplay content that don't always ship on the same timeline. And pretty quickly, we realized we needed a better way to organize all of it. So we ended up using the Game Features
Makes me
plugin
even
to
more
give that
excited to
content
work with
clearer
Unreal Engine
boundaries
again.
and a more scalable way to share systems. And that gave the teams more freedom to build. And then there's mobile. A huge part of TFT is that it runs on a wide range of devices, including low-end mobile hardware. That didn't change just because we moved engines. And while this has been one of the hardest parts of the migration, it's also one of the reasons we made the move. Mobile is a huge part of how people play
Mobile
TFT,
is fucking hard to
including
do.
me. So we invested deeply in custom rendering, memory management, and scaling the game across devices, working closely with Epic to get TFT running where we needed it to. But we're still early in that journey. We're already sharing much more across PC
You
and
make
mobile
up
than we
an
could before,
RPG,
and there's still a lot more
you
we
have
can
a
do
lot of
for our
work to
mobile
do.
players.
If you make an open world game, you have a
Content
lot of
creation.
work to do.
I'm guessing
If you
a lot
do
of
a
you already
mobile
know where
game,
this
you
is going.
especially have a lot of
TFT
work to
has
do.
thousands of assets
Now
across
think
art,
about all the
animation,
gacha
VFX,
games,
and
how
audio
much
that had
work
to be
is that?
migrated. And every type of content works
Massive.
differently when we brought it over. VFX alone was a massive amount of work. We weren't just converting assets, we were moving between
And the more
fundamentally
work it
different
is,
systems. Getting thousands of
the
assets
more
into
bugs
the
you will
engine was one
encounter.
challenge. Getting them back to the quality bar that players expect was another. And we really underestimated how much time this would take. So a huge part of the effort became building the tooling and pipelines to fix, convert, and validate all that content at scale. And that's where Unreal's extensibility really mattered. We could build the systems we needed to make this possible, because there was no world where we were rebuilding all of that by hand. And we kept running into the same pattern everywhere. Unreal gives you a lot, but getting from Unreal to TFT still took a massive amount of work. We're already seeing the impact of Unreal across TFT. More of the game is built on shared foundations. Mobile and PC share much more of the same UI and underlying systems, and we're able to build on technology and capabilities that exist across Riot. And that's the biggest thing Unreal gave us. Not a feature, leverage. But
Yeah,
this move
that's
isn't
what
for everyone. For
Unreal Engine
TFT,
does
this is what will let us
of
move
very,
faster,
very well.
take bigger swings, and keep delivering the experiences
And way
players
better
expect.
than
Because
Unity
for us,
does.
this is about building TFT into a forever
It's
game that players can keep coming back to.
giving you leverage
Players
and
will get their
possibilities
first
on what you
opportunity to play
can do.
TFT on Unreal
That's the strong
in
point of
just a few
Unreal
weeks.
Engine.
And
The downside is
honestly,
you have to
I hope players
learn
pick it up and
a
say,
shit ton
yeah,
to
this feels
make
like
it work.
TFT. Because if we've done our job well, They won't be thinking about the
But
engine
once
at
you
all.
learn it,
They'll just be playing TFT.
it's skyrocketing.
Thank you so much.
It's
I hope
really,
you all have a
really
great Unreal
fast, the
Fest.
iteration process. Each game engine has its
I'm
own
Tor Freak, creative director at Neon Jack.
strong
Here to
points
talk about NOLA,
with
the next game from our
Unreal
studio.
Engine, Unity,
In our first
Godot,
game, The Ascent,
or
our
whatever,
small team pushed the out-of-the-box
even RPG
viewport tech
Maker.
to its limit to make a highly detailed, lived-in cyberpunk world. For our new game, NOLA, a high-fidelity, immersive, first-person shooter set in the unregulated city of Port Desire, we knew that our best starting point would be building a game around
But
the
that
core
really
feature
is
set
not the
of
point
Unreal 5,
of
because a small team like
what
ours
is
needs
the
to win with
best game engine.
not against it.
There's
We
no
realized
best
early
game
on that
engine.
out of the box,
Never will be.
we had to push beyond the default.
You have to
and build our own
decide on your
workflow inside
personal
UE5
needs
to make the world
what
evolve.
game engine is the best
We're
suited
proud of
for
what we did
you.
with the Ascent, and
In my
NOLA
case, it's
is the
Unreal
next step in
Engine.
that same approach. Our constraint was specific. We didn't want the largest world, but the densest.
The best
City
game
that
engine
feels
is
lived in at
the
every scale, where every
the
corner
game
carries history,
engine that
every
makes you
surface
what
tells
you
story.
want to do
Port Desire
the
is shaped
easiest.
by human clutter, cramped
And
market
I'm
alleys, layered graffiti, worn
I'm working
stickers,
on
and
an
electrical
anime
boxes.
title,
It's a
so
story with every
I
frame,
need
from a
both
messy apartment where characters go about their
NPR
lives
and
to the
PBR
skyline
in
of the
one
city.
setting.
As a relatively small team, that ambition came with
For
real challenges.
Unity, you
We wanted
have
extreme
to
detail
switch
everywhere,
pipelines.
but we also
in order
needed
to do that.
stability and performance without hand optimizing.
In Unreal Engine, you just
For
make
us,
it inside
the
your
answer wasn't a
material
single
graph.
system, but a shift in how we built the world. We prioritized density over scale, and we built a pipeline
Plus, you have
that let
real
artists handcraft spaces
one-time
without
virtual
constantly
textures
stripping detail
that
back
makes
and
you
without relying
makes
on
your stuff
visual
blend
decoration.
better with your environment.
Nanite is what made that approach viable. It lets us keep a high level of detail across surfaces without treating every asset as a trade-off between fidelity and performance. Our custom implementation,
And
a fast
technically,
queue in combination with the world
Nanite
partition
is
system,
also a really
enables
big
a seamless
point.
experience that never breaks.
But
It allows us
Nanite
to
is
have
a
details in
lot to
every nook and
learn.
cranny
If you
and tell
just
a million small
try to
stories.
use Nanite,
In fact, we have more objects in any given frame.
you
than
may
the
find it
entirety
good
of the
for
ascent.
like a
With this
one-frame
workflow, we can
picture.
preserve detail and density in every corner.
But
from
if
the
you do
smallest
not
bolt-on
spend the
freighter to
time
the
learning
city as
what
a whole, with
what
no invisible walls
Nanite
and no
requires
roading.
in order to
We built
run
tools
very well,
inside Unreal to help our artists handcraft the entire city. Alley by
what
alley,
sort of foliage is bad for
building by
Nanite and what
building,
sort of foliage is working with
block by
Nanite?
block. To show Port Desire's
If you
full
don't put
range
in the
as an
research
urban
work,
city, overrun with
it will be a
vegetation, we
lag
needed dynamic
fest.
lighting. From the cozy, lush midday sun to the darkest, the most dangerous alleys where even the bright neon light does not reach.
Trust
The
me.
challenge was maintaining a fully
Nanite
dynamic
is
day,
massive.
night, and weather
Nanite is
system
a complete
without
paradigm
unpredictable
shift.
frame times. Lumen gives the foundation for fully dynamic lighting, and mega lights
You cannot
let our artists
treat
focus on the believability of the space
your
instead of treating every
environment
single light source.
the same way you
Every
treated
believable
it
space
before.
needs dozens or hundreds of individual light sources. From the smallest blinking electronic warning light on
You
a
have to
camera
do a lot differently
to
on
the
how
large
you
neon
make
signs
your asset
above our
look,
marketplace.
how the loops are looking,
Mega
how
lights allow us to
the
retain
mesh
visual
density
fidelity bar
is
we're aiming for,
for
while
Nanite
keeping
to
performance
work.
considerations low.
You cannot just put in your scalp from
Once everything is
ZBrush and I
dynamic,
think it works.
It starts to affect the
I
gameplay
have
in more
like
direct ways. Players can shoot out a street lamp,
a point
flood
cloud
a space
scan
with a
that you make
flashlight,
with your phone.
or they can leave an area in darkness and have the AI NPCs react to light and
It's
shadow,
not working that way. You have to
Shy
do a
away from
lot of
glare.
polishing before it can work.
searching through darkness, or escalating when something feels off.
Let's see who's got the bigger gun, motherfucker!
To make the city feel alive, we leaned on the mass framework to drive our crowds. NPC density and types shift based on time of day, region, and weather. In
This
the
looks
slums,
rather
a
boring
storm
right
clears the
now, if I
streets,
be
but in the more
totally
safer parts
honest.
of Port Desire, even heavy rain won't slow things down. Mass lets us simulate thousands of characters at once, over 3,000 at any given time, which is also more than the entirety of the ascent.
Okay, the
city
card
always
simulation
feels
is
active, no matter
impressive.
where you are. We're also using MetaHuman, paired with our own character randomization system. Together with MetaHuman Animator, We can generate and bring to life thousands and thousands of variations of characters, so that the main characters and the extras in the background are all unique. We wanted a world that reacted systemically to the player, without us having to hand place effects and destruction. Filling a world of this density and scale with contextual effects while maintaining performance and interactivity was one of our key challenges. By combining PCG and Niagara data channels, environmental effects are procedurally populated where appropriate. Wherever artist plays trash or leaves, particles will spawn dynamically based on wind, weather, and player actions. Shoot a bullet or throw a grenade, and particles will move out of the way. We combined chaos physics and their own GPU-driven solution to support tens of thousands of moving objects simultaneously.
Okay,
The
that
result
looked fun.
is a reactive environment, where smoke lingers, embers drift,
Having that guy burst
and
up,
broken
that
glass
looked fun.
stays where it fell. Creating No Law has been the process of finding where the engine ends and our custom tools begin. Achieving this level of density, light and complexity, and systemic reactivity was previously impossible for a studio of our size. By leveraging UE5's latest tech to bypass traditional development bottlenecks, we have finally been able
A lot of
to build the
processing there.
uncompromised version of the world we wanted to create for years.
It
We can't wait
really,
for you to
really
experience
fits
it.
to the storytelling
Thank
they
you.
are going for. The game definitely is not a game for me that I would play, but they did a good storytelling.
Hello, everyone.
Just
I
the
lead the
part with
Fortnite
the
developer relations team here,
entire,
and I'm here to talk
yeah,
with
you
you
have
about what's happening in the
a guy
Fortnite
standing next
ecosystem.
to a neon line.
Every
was
one
boring
of
as
the
fuck.
games on the screen behind me was built by an independent developer. Small teams, sometimes just 2 or 3 people using UEFN, published into an ecosystem of millions of players. For those of you who have been with us in UEFN, some since day one, thank you. Your feedback has really helped shape the tools, and your creativity has shifted how more than 75 million monthly active users experience Fortnite. Your games are a growing share of Fortnite playtime. In May, we saw them capture 47% of all player hours, up from just 38% a year ago. And with over $1 billion now paid out to developers since the launch of UEFN, these teams are building businesses here through engagement payouts and, as of January, in island
In other
transactions.
words, they are the next Roblox.
It's introduced more ways to monetize. It's opened up new genres and helped developers with smaller, engaged communities thrive. Over 3,000 islands now earn more from in-island transactions than engagement payouts. And we're continuing to see a growing share of total payouts coming from in-island transactions. It's been a boost for genres outside of Battle Royale and Shooter, and these games now make up over 75% of all in-island transaction revenue. We know it takes
What a
trust to
beautiful
build on a
smile that
platform
don't
that's
play
still
solo
maturing,
hand.
and this year, stability and developer effectiveness is our #1 priority. Back in March, we stated our goal to cut iteration times, and we've been making real progress, getting the time it takes to push changes down by an average of 40% or so. That's even higher for larger projects, and we've seen reductions of up to 70%. Plus, expanded live edit support makes iteration faster and more streamlined. Live edits are now applied directly in game mode, and the new edit list gives you a clear view of the changes as you work.
That's
The
impressive.
consolidated UI simplifies session controls and adds the ability to pause the game, letting you explore the edit the scene with a detached camera. And then work's not done here. We're continuing to drive iteration times down and make UEFN a better tool to build with, release after release. And alongside hardening the tools, we're unlocking more gameplay capabilities. Scene Graph, which is soon to be the foundation of UE6, is maturing quickly in UEFN and giving Fortnite developers far more control and customization than ever before. It underpins new
now,
systems like
Unreal
custom
Engine
items,
and Unreal Engine for
inventories, and as of our
Fortnite are
latest
2
release,
different systems.
an initial set of workflows creating custom
But for
weapons
Unreal
and
Engine
animation with Scene
6,
Graph.
it's
And there's
all
much more
flowing
on the
together
way,
in one
including
engine.
gameplay attributes,
So what is
gameplay
going into
abilities, and
Unreal
some
Engine for
graphic
Fortnite will automatically also be
We're
available for
introducing
Unreal
more and more
Engine,
major engine
which is quite
systems as
important
versatile
because
components
most
so
features
that you can
that
spend
come
more
to
time in
Unreal
UEFN
Engine are
authoring
tested in
gameplay
Unreal
and
Engine
less
for
time
Fortnite
configuring it.
first.
We're also opening up new types of gameplay with targeted feature sets.
Hi, Larry. How are you doing
Creature-based
here?
gameplay tools just shipped with games launching to players this summer. And Fortnite Sidekicks allows developers to tap into the attachment players have already built with their own companions. Developers can now build pet battlers, cozy farming sims, and more. And we're expanding where those games come to life. Fortnite is back on Google Play and the App Store worldwide, and mobile playtime for UEFN games has more than doubled in the past year.
Oh, I hope you have a nice
We
working
know that
time
optimizing
then.
for mobile hasn't been
Nice
easy.
working hours.
We're hoping that some of the recent feature releases, like native gesture support and touchscreen layout customizations and finer control over your HUD, can help you build more mobile-friendly games. These mobile features will exit experimental mode in August, enabling experiences and genres that feel more at home on mobile. Our recent Discover changes are already showing results. We've cracked down on spam and duplicate content, sorted islands into clear genres, and personalized Discover to help your games find audiences faster. And later this year, we're going to be doing a full redesign. Video everywhere, personalization across every row, and social signals, including like percentage right on the tile. And a big shift, Discover replaces the lobby as the first thing that players see when they open Fortnite. We'll be diving deeper into the Discover
actually sounds
roadmap
good.
and the rest of UEFN ecosystem over the
Even
next
though I
few
do
days.
not use UEFN.
Our IP partner program enables
And I'm
any
excited to
Fortnite
see what other
developer
people are
to build with officially
creating
licensed
within.
content from major IP like Lego, Star Wars, Squid Game, and more. Each partnership unlocks exclusive characters, environments, and templates that developers can use to create games they can't build anywhere else. One of the OG UEFN developers, Future Trash, has successfully brought their FOD IP to Fortnite and launched a hit game set in a galaxy far, far away. Their founder, Kevin, is here to share more about what they've been up to, so please give him a warm welcome.
I have a funny name for a studio.
Thank you, Hannah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Marciano, co-founder and CEO of Future Trash, the game studio behind FOD. In
I like when
2022,
people are
my
not taking
co-founders,
themselves
Nate,
so
Scott,
too
Eric,
seriously
and I
and show it
quit our
off with their
jobs.
branding.
We wanted to build the next great party game.
It takes a
We were
lot of
betting
courage.
everything on an indie studio with one idea and a lot of passion. We learned fast how brutal that road is. Back-end infrastructure, discoverability, distribution, the walls were everywhere. By early 2023, we only had a few weeks of runway left. I flew to GDC with the Steam Deck in hand, trying to get anyone's attention that cared about what we had built. That's when UEFN got announced, and we thought, why don't we bring our game into Fortnite? We weren't native to UGC, so it felt incredibly risky. After some experimentation with the tools and learning more about the blossoming creator economy, we could see the potential. We rolled up our sleeves and shipped our first game in under 3 weeks. We hit publish and got player feedback almost instantly. And that's when it settled in. This was going to be our path forward. And that bold pivot didn't just save our company, it changed our perspective on the future of the games industry. What UEFN gave us wasn't just a platform, it was direct access to our audience. No gatekeepers, no publisher approval. You just have an idea, you build it, and players play it. We've now reached a scale of players we genuinely never thought would be possible as a small studio. From a MOBA that didn't quite land with the Fortnite audience to our first breakout hit, Boom Tycoon, we had the opportunity to experiment with a wide range of genres and discover what felt right for our creative sensibilities on the platform. As a studio obsessed with world building, character-driven experiences, and building original IP, UEFN
The
became our
problem I
creative
see is
sandbox
like that
and our distribution
you can
layer at the
only
same time.
build like small
Star
games
Wars
with
has
them.
always been a creative inspiration to everyone on our team since childhood.
If you
None of us ever
like
dreamt
a
that would be able
horror
to craft
game,
their own game using the iconic IP with essentially total creative control.
then
The droids of Star Wars, they do the hardest
this
work,
stuff
that
is
survive the
perfect.
worst odds, and they get the least amount of credit. And we
They
thought,
do with
let's
something
make a
like
game
Car
about that.
Wash Simulator
Droid
or
Tycoon was our love letter to these
yeah,
unsung heroes
any
of the Star Wars
tycoon.
universe. It's hard to believe that this game could have existed anywhere else. And that's how we see the future of how legacy IP will embrace UGC native creators to foster an infinite extension of their content universe.
Those
That's where the most exciting stories
find
are
the
gonna be told.
anomaly
And
games.
you all showed up to prove it. Since we launched the map,
Something like
Droid Tycoon became
UEFN
the
is
most played
perfect for
UEFN game
those
in
type of
Fortnite by
games.
hours. It climbed to the second most played game across all Fortnite.
But any
first
RPG,
weekend.
any
And earlier this
long
month, it set a new
RPG,
record for the highest number of
anything
concurrent players over a
remotely
2-hour
like a
period,
Tales of
which is the strongest
Berseria
performance
or
ever achieved by an IP experience in Fortnite. Looking ahead,
even
our
something
ambitions
like
are to continue pushing the boundaries of what's
yeah,
possible on
Final
the platform in
Fantasy
terms of visual quality
Expedition
and
33.
storytelling. We will
I
continue building
hope
our own
that you
original IP
will
while
get
also
the
making
people
immersive experiences
for that
for the
on
franchises that
UEFN.
inspire us most.
I think it's better to
Thank you.
do it on as a standalone. Those games are just too big for that. But smaller games, something like Mario Party
Thanks,
or
Kevin, for
Fall
sharing your story and
Guys.
creative process, and especially for
UEFN
bringing the
is
Star Wars
perfect.
IP to life in Droid Tycoon in a way that has connected so deeply with fans. Droid Tycoon is a standout representative of some of the big highlights we had this year in Disney and Fortnite. Let's take a look.
Fortnite did prove that you can bring different franchises together that you wouldn't think they would not fit together, but it worked. Fortnite is a good example for that.
Behold, giant food from the sky!
This partnership is anchored in one conviction. Disney stories should reach fans where they already are, and that's increasingly in games. And it extends beyond Epic and Disney. Developers, you're in this too. With the agency to build your own experiences and tell your own stories using the IP that you know
So we
and
get
love.
Disney ads in Neverness to
Early in my
Everness
game
now?
dev career, my dream was to make games in the Star Wars universe. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that, and it's been a great full circle moment for me personally. to
Actually,
see
that would be
developers
so
experience
fucking
the
great.
thrill
Imagine you
of
watching
making their own
movie
Star Wars
trailers
games for the
inside a
first
game
time.
like Neverness to Everness.
What's happened since we launched this IP program has exceeded everything we expected. Star Wars came to UEFN and developers ran with it. Galactic Siege, Escape Vader, Droid Tycoon, all built with tools available to everyone in this room. 8 million players in 72 hours overall. Galactic Siege had 6.5 million players, and Escape Vader had 3.4 million plays in just the first 6 days. And Droid
Escape
Tycoon
Vader.
in just the first 6 days. And Droid Tycoon became the
It kind of
number
sounds like a
2
Dead
most
by
played
Daylight
island in
where you
Fortnite
just escape
within a
from Darth Vader.
all of us at Disney want to congratulate and thank Beyond Creative and Jogo for their contributions on their exemplar island launches, along with Droid Tycoon. In The Mandalorian and Grogu Watchparty Island, fans were able to watch the first 10 minutes of the film before it ever hit theaters. This is a new model for what studio IP and the creative pipeline can look like, going beyond IP access and toward creative continuity and immersion in worlds that feel real.
I like that
Star
they
Wars,
open up
though,
like
was
that.
just one chapter in a year where games meaningfully extended our storytelling. As Percy Jackson returned to Disney Plus for Season 2, Siege of Monsters, created by our friends at Gauntlet, offered a new way to experience that world, while our own Disneyland Game Rush translated the energy from Anaheim and Disneyland's 70th anniversary into playable form. And our Disney, Pixar, Lucasfilm, 20th Century, and Marvel outfit collabs continue to remain amongst the most popular in Fortnite. That goes beyond a traditional IP arrangement. It's iconic Disney stories in the hands of more creatives, reaching more fans than ever.
I like that they
And
open
you
up
can't
to that,
forget
because
our
that
favorite
means
animated family from Springfield,
people are
who had
more
one crazy
able to,
month-long season last year.
yeah,
This season
populate
had over
areas
80
with stuff that
million
is
unique
already
players,
liked
with over
without
750
having to fear
million hours played.
anything. If they are on
The
board
reach
over
speaks
that,
for itself.
you can put
We were so
real
excited to see players come into
advertisement
Springfield,
for those
but
stuff
we've also loved
inside of
watching
games.
citizens of Springfield cross over into parts of UEFN. Let's take a look at some highlights from one of our favorite streamers.
Hey
everybody, welcome to my channel. Bardas reacts to an idiot playing Fortnite. Here's how Homer gets us to school every day. The fat is strong with this one. Hey, look, it's Jurassic Pork. Here's Dad having a meeting with my teacher, Mrs. Krabappel. Here we go, the titanic battle between two old men with breathing problems. Okay, dinosaurs and stormtroopers are tough for Dad, but when he's on his home turf in his Springfield island, he'll probably just choke on his own donut cannon.
Okay.
36 years in, The Simpsons
That was
still feel like
mediocre.
everyone's family. But today, they're finding a new home. We are so excited to announce The Simpsons is joining the IP Partner Program later this year. Springfield will be yours. Characters, locations, radioactive waste, all UEFN ready. But hey, be kind to Flanders. But based on what we've seen, Springfield's in good hands. Thank you to all the amazing developers in this community. We look forward to
This is
seeing
so
what you create
nice.
next.
This is really
back to
nice
Epic.
of them. Because this enables now creators to make a Disney fan game or Simpson fan game in this game,
To right here, right now. It's
which will get a lot of people into game
our
there.
game in front of the greatest fans in the world.
That's
we
a great
celebrate
thing.
that history. To all of our friends here in Paris and those watching all around the world, this is the future, and this is
An empty arena. Okay. Rocket League. Of course. Jesus, people are way more excited about that little number than I thought. Even though they haven't showed us anything about Unreal Engine 6 yet.
All right, at the Rocket League competitive series in Paris, we gave the world the first glimpse of Unreal Engine 6. And this is the next step in our mission, to make great games and tools and to share them with you so you can bring your ideas to life. And I'm here to talk to you about what we're building now for the future. Today, things are kind of awkward. There's actually two different ways to build stuff in Unreal. There's building Unreal Engine 5 games for standalone distribution on stores with massive AAA features. And
Yeah,
then
they're
there's the
talking about
Unreal
what I
Editor
talked
for
about
Fortnite
earlier.
feature set and tool set that enables you to build a game once and then deploy it to all platforms live into Fortnite with its 80 million monthly active users. Now, each of them has some really cool, unique features, but is lacking the features of the other one. And so our big initiative to bring them together is the core of the Unreal Engine 6 effort. It's UE5 plus UEFN equals UE6 plus some more cool stuff on the way. The vision is that if you build things once, the Unreal Engine 6
God,
way,
the
then you can have a
screen
game that you
cap
can
is
ship
so fucking
everywhere,
off. Let me
including
turn
the
that
console
off.
stores, the PC stores, the mobile stores, and also ship
Adlings
live
are
into
invading the void for
Fortnite
90 seconds.
ecosystem or any other Unreal Engine 6-based game ecosystem built by any other developer. Now, in prior generations, we put graphics first in leading and announcing our technology. But with the Unreal Engine 6 generation, we're focusing first and foremost on the foundations of the engine to prepare for the next generation of game development and for gaming. And the most critical change here is the move to the verse programming language for gameplay development alongside the low-level C++ engine. And the reason for this is to enable massive scale code and content interoperability across games. Today we have a lot of content interoperability features. You go to the Fab content marketplace, you download a bunch of cool objects, you stick in your game, but then you have to wire them up and make it work yourself. In the Unreal Engine 6 generation, by having a unified set of APIs and a unified language that works everywhere, you'll be able to build smart assets that are completely portable between games and between projects and can be shared at any scale, with the potential to have millions of developers collaborating together on a shared body of work that anybody can use. Another hallmark aim for the Unreal Engine 6 generation is to enable far larger game simulations. The original Battle Royale movie in 1999 that inspired the Battle Royale genre of games, fortunately, just happened to have 100 people dropping onto an island. It's a nice coincidence because that's actually the maximum number of players our code base could support running on a single thread on a server.
Okay,
if they had
that's good
1,000
to
players, we
know.
wouldn't have been able to do it. But the goal of Unreal Engine 6 is to introduce software and transactional memory technology, which Curtis Schmidt will talk more about later, in order to enable scaling of games to any amount of computers that can fit into a data center. Hundreds, thousands, potentially even millions in the future. And this is technology that's in the research lab, and the team is working very rapidly to make into a practical shipping system. Another major aim of Unreal Engine 6 is something I first talked about at the SIGGRAPH Computer Graphics Show back in 2016. There I talked about a potential future of gaming as an open system like the web is open, in which any developer can run a server, build a game, host their own content, and the user can go anywhere they want, from place to place, bringing all of their stuff with them, and tearing down the walls and barriers that exist between games to have a completely interoperable ecosystem. And the Rocket League preview of Unreal Engine 6, if you looked at the very last frame of it, there was a little URL bar on top. The URL was verse://rocketleague.com. And we're tantalizingly close now to fully realizing this idea of an open gaming ecosystem with the ability to travel from game to game and independent developer freedom to build everything they want everywhere they go. And our aim at Epic is to work with all developers in the industry to build this system together as peers. We want a system with no overlord. We've been spending some time fighting against overlords in the industry with some amount of success. And we don't want to be the next one. Rather, we want to be a partner to every company in the industry, including all game developers and also other makers of technology and services, in order to build the best stuff and connect it all up together. And so a huge part of this effort is going to be Epic adopting open standards like the Pixar
Like a more
USD file
synergetic
format,
mindset over
and
competitive
also working
one.
with standards bodies and releasing specifications to bring new standards into the industry where they're lacking and needed. I'll be talking more about that later, but right now I'd like to introduce Marcus Wasmer to talk about the architecture of Unreal Engine 6. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks, Tim. So let's just take a second look at the recent history of Unreal Engine. So Unreal Engine 4 opened the engine to everyone by making the tools free to use and the source accessible on GitHub. And UE5 reinvented how worlds are built, helping you go bigger, add density and dynamic detail, and do it faster than ever before. UE6 has a different proposition. It's about evolving how we ship and operate our games. That said, UE6 will keep doing the things you want an Unreal Engine to do. Rendering will keep getting better, cook times will come down, iteration loops are getting tighter, mobile is increasingly capable. However, we believe for UE6 that there are 3 things about game development that need to change at the same time. First, gameplay programming needs to get simpler for creating persistent, live, large-scale worlds. And Verse is the foundation for Epic's future programming model. It's a next-generation language purpose-built to power massive, persistent game worlds at scale, where global state just works and transactionally correct concurrency is handled by the runtime. We've built a modern high-level gameplay framework on top of Verse that gives you a true foundation to build games and experiences easily and to share their interoperable components between games. You'll hear more about our goals and architecture for this programming model from our technical director on the project in a few minutes. But for now, let's talk about the second guiding principle of UE6. Content and code should be portable across games and even engines. Our goal is to give the games industry a whole new way to grow our ecosystems with cross-promotion, portable player value, and to really lean into all the positive sum dynamics that Metcalfe's law predicts for connecting experiences and social graphs together. And we're going to do this with a determined effort to move UE beyond just extensibility and into open specifications for interoperability. Where existing standards such as GLTF or USD are capable of fulfilling our needs, we'll make them first-class formats within the engine. And where a standard doesn't yet exist that serves the needs of game ecosystems, we'll open up Unreal's own systems as open specifications with Verse APIs, defined asset conditions, and documentation that any engine, tool, or studio can implement against. And Fortnite Cosmetics will be our first real proof point of portability. We're going to start by moving the base system to an
The one point where
that's
all
usable by our
those
games.
things like Claude and stuff might actually be useful is as a search engine for finding stuff. Because there's a documentation, but it's such a massive documentation that something like
and one that inherently
an
comes with a ton of
AI
player value by respecting their purchases.
walling through all the data to tell you, oh, this is a node you're looking for.
We see this as the first step towards building a
I
shared economy
think that's
for smart
probably what it ultimately will end up to. That you suddenly have like a very good search engine for finding the stuff you want to.
In the end, this isn't really a Fortnite story. It's just about proving that such a mature, complex system can work at scale, and that every game that works with these systems will immediately benefit from them. Happily, we're taking the first concrete steps to such an open ecosystem right now. MetaHuman has been adopted
So
by some of the
basically
most successful
Google,
games in
but
the
just
world,
for Unreal
and is
Engine.
rapidly becoming a standard for digital characters. And that's why today we're announcing
Yeah.
the MetaHuman Dev Kit, opening up our rig logic and MetaHuman DNA toolsets.
I don't think so. I think Unity goes the Ray 1 path.
Any platform.
To learn more, Unity goes the massive way of generative AI.
So to learn more, please come to our
Unreal
talk right
goes
after
more of the supportive
Move
for
on, no tech
artists,
presentation,
so that
would
artists have
obviously be
more
complete without a conversation about
tools
So
to
to
make
get one of the
their
fun talking
work
points out of the way,
easier.
There's some speculation going around that game
The
engines will
artist's
be
work, not the
superseded by,
to replace the artist.
And we don't actually think
While
that's what
Unity
happens
has more
next.
features that look
What
like they
does, we
want to
think, is much more
replace the
interesting.
artist.
That AI-assisted game creation will tighten iteration loops, reduce time-consuming manual setup of levels, character rigs, particle systems, getting bone weights, adjusting lighting, all of the manual work required to translate professional, creative intent into performant and cross-platform games. And crucially, Unreal Engine
I'm
is
not
uniquely
convinced with
placed to be the
with that
efficient,
coding features, to be
cross-platform,
honest. I'm
high-fidelity
really not
runtime
convinced.
that will remain the substrate
AI
on
is
which
so
much
bad
of the
in
world's best
coding.
games run. Thus, for UE6, we see LLMs, Gen AI models, and tools like Claude, Gemini, and so on as playing a
How
central
much
role
that
in
my
building content faster
software
with the
development
creative
friend that I
control
still
that you
have
need.
They are
And as you saw
cleaning
earlier,
up
the future of
after
these
AI
workflows is a fluent
constantly.
translation layer between natural language intent and your production pipeline.
AI is
Our goal for
horrible.
UE6 is to
If it's
greatly
maybe like
reduce
a
the
small
tedious work
website,
in
yeah, okay,
authoring
then
content to
sure.
leave more time
But when it
for
comes to
creative
real
exploration
in-depth
and
coding,
increase the amount of
forget
iterations
about
the
it.
team can make to polish their
Horrible.
content. UE6 will ship with these workflows battle tested against internal development and in UEFN. And while we've mostly been showing and talking about content creation,
That's why it's
coding
actually
and
a good
engineering are
thing that they
important as
don't
well.
focus on that.
Internally at Epic, we've been doing a lot of investigation to see what works and what doesn't. And we recently opened up pretty broad usage for code generation and AI analysis across our back-end, engine, and game development engineering teams. We've had a lot of great success stories. We've had particular success with people writing custom tools for their own work, fast code indexing tools for helping LLMs deal with large code
Here's the
bases
thing
like
though,
UE,
they put that,
fast incident
they
response
made that
analysis,
code base here
automated root cause
based
analysis for
on the
crashes,
blueprint
automated
system.
test
So
generation,
they
and
already
of course the
have a
wins you'd
manual
expect on
kit
back-end service
that
development.
does work.
But what's interesting is that
They
most
just
of
have
those cases
AI
aren't
play
even generating
around with
mainline
it.
Unreal Engine code yet, though that'll come. So you can expect
Way
Unreal
more
Engine 6 to
stable
include all the key
approach
learnings
than
for using AI
actual
for
having them
engineering,
code.
along with content workflows. Okay, so we know you obviously have lots of questions about the
Like
transition from
having
UE5 to UE6.
a
So let's
kid
talk
play
about
with
that for a second.
Lego and having a kid actually
UE6
glue
leverages two
their
threads of
own
development
Lego
we've been running in parallel.
blocks.
UE5
Which one
for
is
high-end
more
standalone
proficient for the
game
kid?
and content development, and Unreal Editor for Fortnite as the live environment where our new programming model is getting battle tested. UE6 will combine these two products into one. As UE5 and UEFN merge into one editor, you will be able to ship traditional games and projects exactly as you do today. You'll be able to ship directly in Fortnite, or ship your own ecosystem and optionally make it compatible with ours. You'll have an easy path from one to the other. Actors and blueprints
That's the
will
thing.
be in
Unity
early
needs
versions of UE6.
blueprint,
Eventually,
a
this will
better
be
blueprint
deprecated when the
system
new
like
framework is
Unreal
sufficiently
has
mature,
in order
and
to
you'll have
pull
conversion tools to
a
move
really good
projects from one
system
framework to the other.
for coding.
Also, a new UE6 mainstream will be on GitHub later today, publicly visible, just like the UE5 stream has always been. Any remaining UE5 changes will merge
Oh yeah, if
to
it's
UE6
really
and not get
just
lost, but not vice versa.
repetitive stuff, then
And in
yeah,
addition,
maybe.
Fortnite development will be
But if it's
attached to the
anything
UE6 stream,
innovative,
so you can see all of our ongoing work
forget
live
about it.
and cherry pick any changes as needed. However, this stream is
People have
not
that
meant to be any kind of alpha.
impression
It
that
exists
AI
just to be
can
transparent
create
with where we're going.
anything.
And while we're
AI
not
can
currently
only
planning another
recreate what is
official,
already
UE5
done a
release
thousand
after 5.8,
times.
we do reserve the right to ship a 5.9 if needed. You never know.
But
So when can you get your hands on UE6? We plan to
this
release
is the
in
this
early
is the point here in
access
Unreal
at the end of
Engine. You made it a thing
2027-ish.
that you do not need
We know how game dev works around here.
AI for that. You just
However, Epic will be
the
shipping things on the tech
modular
stack
blueprint
ahead of
kit
the
is
early
good
access
enough that you
release,
can easily do it yourself.
6.0 will be released 12 to 18 months following the early access release, and we expect just about everyone should be able to move their projects to 6.0, as it will still have all of the mainline UE5 tech, except for Cascade. Where we're killing that one.
2070-ish? That's already way shorter than I...
So get on the Niagara train. That said, we will be taking the opportunity to make some big architectural and other breaking changes that we wouldn't
Anything
normally do
that's
in a point release.
creative, AI
So you can
sucks
expect a
in.
similar upgrade path from UE5 to 6 as we had for 4 to 5. We'll keep everyone up to date on our progress as development continues. And now Curtis is going to come up and give us some more detailed breakdown.
You want to be creative, don't use AI. It's simple as that. Because you simply cannot be creative with AI. Impossible.
Thanks, Marcus, and good morning, everyone. I'm Curtis. I work on the gameplay architecture in Unreal Engine, and today I'm excited to talk to you about the new gameplay framework for UE6, which begins with Verse. Now, Verse is a next-generation programming language, purpose-built to power massive, persistent game worlds at scale. We originally released it 3 years ago in UEFN, where we could grow it to become the foundation for UE6. And Verse draws ideas from functional, logic, and imperative languages, and it should feel immediately familiar to anyone who's worked in languages like C# or Python before. But it also has some unique features aimed at solving the complexity and scaling problems of modern game development, starting with this unique software transactional memory model, or STM. Now, all functions in Verse run as part of atomic transactions, which can be rolled back and re-simulated as needed. And this lets us do a lot of interesting things in our game's code. So for example, to check if an object can be successfully moved in the world, we can simply set its position, then do our spatial queries to see if it's hitting anything. If it is, we abandon the entire transaction,
Like, let's put it in an example.
and pretending the code never ran at all.
If I would commission an artist to make to craft me a picture of the world, they would give me an amazing looking concept art. If you put that to AI, they probably give you a black picture.
Well, with UE6, we're working to build a full distributed software transactional memory system to address this. So here's the idea. We take your existing single-threaded style Verse game code, and then we distribute it across multiple servers. When an object's needed in one server, the Verse runtime rolls back the current transaction, migrates the object over to the server, and then reruns the transaction with the object now present. And this is all done in a way that retains the transactional consistency of the original program. Finally, with Verse, we wanted to make saving game data way simpler. So the Verse runtime can automatically synchronize and save any global state for the program, and then share it across all running instances of your game or an ecosystem. And to the programmer,
The funny part is, with that
setting up
little
something
code,
like save state for a player is as simple as setting a single global map of player to save state. No more having to set up databases or coordinate schemas between your game and other backend services. You can
That's
do all of
massive.
this without ever leaving Verse. Now let's take a look at how Verse fits into the bigger UE6 gameplay architecture. So at the foundational level, we have the Verse runtime, along with all the UE systems that exist today, like rendering, chaos physics, meta sounds. With Verse, we're also introducing the Verse scene graph framework. Now, this is a modern game component framework with full support for prefab-style workflows and runtime composition. The scene graph has been designed to utilize all the power of the Verse language, including modeling the entire prefab data model through Verse's type system. Above this, every core system in the engine is exposed as concrete Verse objects. Each material, mesh, Niagara system that you author becomes a type of Verse class with a statically validatable API. This lets us use the Verse compiler to validate all of our data in a unified manner across the entire engine. For example, if you change a parameter in a particle system, you'll immediately know where in code needs to be updated to match. And finally, we'll be introducing high-level frameworks for common game systems like characters, weapons, and vehicles. Now, building with these frameworks helps speed up development, but it also creates content that can be shared widely across games and ecosystems. So imagine grabbing a car from Fab, and instead of simply getting a skeletal mesh and some animations like you might today, you get a fully working Verse module for a car that functions across all of your games. With the UE6 gameplay framework, we're envisioning a world where enormous amounts of code and content is being built and shared between these projects, with Verse providing strong backwards compatibility guarantees to help the ecosystem grow sustainably. Of course, we'll need a place to store all of this code and data, and here to talk about that is Matthias.
That is actually impressive because right now you can mostly have material sets and stuff. And maybe a template, but the template might actually already be broken and stuff.
I work on developer tools, and I'm here to talk about our version control system lore.
And plugins are
As we
also
continue
a
to
thing.
scale our platforms and services, we run into
Greatest
many
plugin I
challenges
ever
when it
experienced
comes
is
to data storage and version control.
PCGEX.
We need something that can handle
And that is even a
large
free
binary
one.
datasets, scale easily across the globe, and provide secure data isolation in a shared multi-tenant environment. We also need to make it easy to use for everyone, not just programmers. We looked at the available tools and came to the conclusion that none had everything we needed. Git, for example, it's excellent at what it was built for, distributed development of source code. But game development has huge amounts of binary data and content, and rarely needs everything on your local machine. Git doesn't really work well under such requirements. Other
Git is horrible.
commercial and
I
proprietary
tried.
systems were also considered.
I tried to make it
But
work. It's
our foundational tools
horrible.
have to be open. Open
It's very,
specifications,
very
open
slow.
protocols, open formats. Anything less, and the people relying on them can't extend
Firefox
or
is good.
trust them. So we decided to build Lore
And the
from
version is
scratch,
also really, really good
and
at
we
that.
designed the data model to meet our requirements from the ground up. We made scalability and performance core tenets from day one, and this is where most of Lore's technical innovation lives. It combines an efficient large asset handling with a free branching model,
Lore?
so
Never heard
teams
of
can
him.
iterate quickly without sacrificing workflow flexibility or storage efficiency. And Lore will grow with you, from a zero-config, single-service setup for small teams, all the way to multi-region, multi-million user deployments like UEFN, without requiring your team to fundamentally change how you work. At the heart of Lore is an efficient, content-addressed data store. Every file, every directory,
That's all good
every
at stuff, but
revision
I want to hear
is
pricing.
identified by what it contains, not where it lives. Identical pieces of data are only stored once. Lore gives you direct access to that storage
They
platform.
talk
so
about small
you can
teams.
build
I
your
hope they
own
have
applications
pricing that
and
fits
pipelines on
small
top of it.
teams.
Lore's version control uses this storage platform to let you work on multiple things in parallel, switch between them freely, and collaborate in safe, isolated spaces without worrying about how it scales. Lore's sparse, binary-first storage architecture fetches only the data you actually need for the revisions and branches
Yeah,
you
for
work
gaming
with,
companies,
supporting projects
teams
of
below
any
100 are considered a small
Large
team.
binary data is stored in smaller fragments,
So usually you're in
allowing
the
partial
thousands
deduplication and highly
people.
efficient parallelized data transfer of any file.
And if you
That
are
same
going
data model is
AAA,
what
you're
lets
even
Lore scale
in
out
way,
across the
way above
infrastructure.
thousands.
As you grow, Lore lets you transparently add layers of additional servers from the local machine out through edge and regional caches and up to a durable global store. And because access is authenticated and authorized at every layer, that scale never comes at the cost of control. Every server enforces the same access policies. For a globally distributed team, that means that users in different regions can hit their nearest cache, and the global source of truth is never the bottleneck. Everything Lore does, data storage, version control, is exposed through a single complete API. And on top of that API, we built the tools you would expect. A command line interface, a desktop application, and in the near future, an integration in Unreal Editor. And these
does
tools are
look
all
good.
built on the same API and library.
It does
This
look really, really
API-first
good.
design makes Lore easy to extend and integrate into any development pipeline. Your tools and applications can easily use
But if
Lore
for a
through the
10-person
API in the
team,
language you
the
want to use.
costs are like 500
We're just scratching
euros,
the surface here. I hope this gives you a sense of the power and potential of Lore.
then you
And
might
it's
want to
already used in
reconsider
production
another
environments.
options.
It powers the UEFN ecosystem, where it's been known until now as Unreal Revision Control, providing version control and data storage for
That's why
everyone's content pipeline. We
pricing
have
is so
already
important
started
for me right
transitioning
now.
to use Lore as the primary version control system for development within Epic, and we plan to be fully using Lore by the UE6 launch. We built Lore to address scalability and efficiency challenges we have at Epic, and as we talked with many of you, we heard similar challenges echoed across the industry. And that led to a bigger realization. If we're trying to foster a truly open ecosystem, one we all build together, then a system shaped behind closed doors would fall short. And that's why we're announcing Lore as open source today. All the source code...
Okay, that is huge.
Thank you. All the source code,
And
along with
source.
documentation of data formats and protocols,
Oh.
are now permissionally
Hey,
licensed under an
that's
MIT
amazing.
license and free to use.
Oh boy.
This release shouldn't be viewed as a perfect or complete package, but as an invitation to you to extend it, challenge it, and help shape it into something even more powerful together. So, if you're interested in learning more, head to lore.org and come to my session later in the show for a deep dive discussion on Lore's architecture.
Definitely have a
And with
good
that,
look at
I
that.
will hand it back to Tim.
This is massive. Open source. something that specializes on that.
Awesome. So that is the first two of our next generation permissive
Non-game
elections
devs probably have no idea how huge this
many to
is.
come as we go about building
Oh boy,
more and more standards for
this is great. This is really
for the future
great.
of gaming. And now I'd like to go and talk about the game business, which is in a time of both crisis and also opportunity. On the upside, there's a new generation of gamers coming in with new tastes in games, and they're playing games at a higher rate than any previous generation before. And the biggest games like Fortnite are once again growing and thriving. But underneath this, there's a serious challenge to AAA developers, and that's that a huge number of the new releases of major games are failing now. We're seeing often hundreds of millions of dollars of dev costs followed by tens of millions of dollars of revenue, and the dev costs are continuing to grow. It feels to many like a tidal wave is sweeping over the AAA game business. I'd like to back up. Everybody has their theory for why this is happening, but I'd like to back up and identify kind of the key generational changes and trends that are behind this. Because if we want to come up with an honest solution, we have to accurately identify the problem. And one of the key trends is that gaming is increasingly becoming socially driven. In the old days, it was you decide to play a game, you download it, you may play it by yourself, or maybe play multiplayer with whatever strangers show up. Nowadays, it's much more about you getting together with your friends and then deciding what to do together online to play a game or experience. And this social increasing angle of gaming is creating a massive advantage for big games and big ecosystems because a game with a lot of players is much more likely to contain a lot of your friends, and a long-established game with a huge player base has a much easier job of retaining players than a new game has of attracting new players. Thus, we've seen a lot of the major new multiplayer games not gain a sufficient community and momentum to survive, though in the past they might have. The other big change that's affecting gaming is that the economy is shifting from buying games to buying things in games. And whether you're a fan of this or not, the arithmetic of it is undeniable. And this is another thing that reinforces the success of very large existing ecosystems in games and makes it ever harder for new entrants to get in. And that is if you've been playing a game for a long time and it has a huge player base, then you can buy with confidence knowing that the things you purchase will still be useful to you days, weeks, or years later. Whereas when a new game comes out, it's a much more difficult decision to spend. You're not sure if you're going to play it next day, next week, next month, and are much less likely to spend. And the final trend that's affecting gaming is that the market for players' attention has become extraordinarily competitive, more so than I've ever seen before in my lifetime when we were competing with lame television and other things that trend almost into vice, all competing for people's times, all very effectively. And so to overcome these trends, the game industry, whether we like it or not, is reorganizing itself. And there are kind of two big predictions for the future as these problems reverberate throughout the industry. One view of the future is that Roblox grows and eats gaming. A lot of people are saying this online. But what you have there is a centralized platform with a single gatekeeper that commoditizes all content, takes more than 70% of revenue, and has 450 million users on board. And so that's a real challenge to game developers.
Because if Roblox eats gaming, that would mean basically that certain genres would completely die down.
Challenge and linking up our content, linking up our communities, and linking up our economies to deliver fun and to serve gamers with great games in a way we've never done before. And to accomplish that, we're going to all need to change the way we build things. We're going to need to build better games, we're going to need to build them more efficiently, and we're going to need to design up front and build for connected games, where all of our player bases are connected socially and our economies are connected so that players, instead of seeing these as isolated products, see them as part of a global ecosystem that all game developers participate in together. We want to work with all of you and with all of the game developers in the industry to achieve this together. The things we built with Unreal Engine 6 are our technological foundation for it. And we believe that this is a big challenge that we all have to rise to. We need to win the competition for players' time, not only against other games, but also against YouTube and TikTok and everything else that people are doing online. And this was very much on our minds when we set out about
you have to
building Unreal
compete
Engine
with
6.
other social
It's
media.
also what was on the minds of really close partners like Disney and Lego and other AAA game developers when we've been building increasingly close partnerships to them to build this together. It's very clear, Fortnite, 80 million monthly active users. That's quite a lot.
It sounds stupid to say that, but you have to, as a game developer, you have to compete with cat videos.
To build the ecosystem of the future, we're going to have to build it together. And I think the thesis for that is very optimistic, that between all of us and the world's best games, many of
Adlings are invading the void for 90
Engine,
seconds.
and many of whose developers use Unreal Engine and many projects, we have billions of active users. And so we have the opportunity to form up into Team Open and to define the future of gaming together again. And that's exactly what we want to accomplish in this generation together with you. So that's what we're doing. Thank you very much for coming here to Unreal Fest. And remember, where else in the world can Fortnite creators get together with AAA game developers and filmmakers and architects and car designers and people at Lockheed Martin who are designing things they're not even allowed to talk about here, and actually speak the same language, the language of Unreal and content and code and development. So I hope you have a great time and have a great opportunity to meet up with lots of people. Thank you very much.
At one point, I don't just want to go to Blender conferences, but also to maybe the one in Stockholm. At one point, I want to go to the Unreal Fest there. That would be the closest to the Unreal Fest in Stockholm. Yeah, that was the Unreal Fest. A lot of infos. Yeah, definitely. I agree. Alright. Well, Unreal Engine 5.8 released, as they said, which let me show. It is not released yet, but it will release very, very soon after this presentation. So yeah, okay, yeah, but then you know how long game development takes? So unless you talk about little games like what's the name, Peak, where you have like a game made in just a few weeks, I think Peak was done in 2 months. And then they iterated upon it once they released it, made it more and more content for it. I don't like the name of the genre, but it is the genre nonetheless. Ranslop games are done in very fast iteration cycles. They are basically the results of what do you call it? Yeah, they're basically the results of game jams. You just have like you do a game on a game jam, which is usually a week. You see, hey, this is actually more fun than I thought, and then you polish it more. And that's how most of those games, most of those Find the Anomaly games, or Ping, or Repo, all those games came even into existence. They tested out a concept on a game jam, it worked, they iterated more on it, they polished it, they made it better, and that became those games. which is not the usual way stuff goes. The usual way is that you have a clear concept what the game is supposed to be, especially when you go into hack and slash and RPG routes. Then you have a very clear concept. You do early game testing, very important. Do early game testing. As soon as you have something slightly playable, find people to test it with. Yes, you can go with your mom, your dad, and some friends, but go outside of that as well. Go with people that do not know you. I'm no way clear to that state yet. I have a lot of work still to do before I reach that point. But then I definitely will do early game testing. Yeah, we get there. It's a long road. And it's a long road, and oftentimes, and those who are the doing game development, it's most of the times also a very lonely road. Because at the very beginning of your stuff, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody but yourself. So it's really, it's tough. Especially because you have to get yourself to the point. Oh, actually 5.8 is out. Haha. See that? 5.8 is out. I could install 5.8 now. Which I definitely will, and then I test out my own projects on it. But it is there. Especially, I will have to do some testing if I have to redo my entire world that I definitely want to use the mesh terrain. So there's a good chance that the world I made so far already, I have to completely redo. Sounds horrible. It is a lot of work if I have to, but it's a lot of work that would be way worth it. It would make everything look way better. Especially because now you can have tunnels and stuff. You don't have to use cutouts and then put a different mesh in there. Now you actually can have everything be one mesh and actually make you can way better art direct how the world will look. It's a fascinating world. Game development or anything actually in the creative endeavors, you have to be ready to never stop learning. You always have to keep learning, keep advancing yourself. Oh, it sounds horrible, but you have to kind of have that specific curiosity to learn new things in order to survive. Doesn't mean that you have to go through books the entire times. No, it's more of the times where you be that kid in a lab and experiment with the new features. That's most of the times how it looks like. You experiment, you try things out, you try to learn about the things you use, and have your own little science lab. That's most of the times how the game development looks like when new features like that come down. You are the scientist. You fail forward. You have a million of times where you try something out and it doesn't work at all. And then you have those times where you suddenly succeed with what you want to achieve. And it's such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling. When you put in a lot of work into something and trying to make it work and then suddenly find the way to make it work or make it look the way you want to. It's a very, very pleasant feeling. Something you can never achieve if you use AI. Because you never put in the work. It's a machine that does it for you. No, I'm not trying to shit on AI users here. There are definitely use cases where AI have a solid reason for existing. I'm too prideful to use it. The only way I use AI is for my little Enma here to have a little piece of entertainment for you guys. So you can interact with Enma, and the Enma can interact with you. And that's it. As an interactive medium, AI is great. But as a creative medium, I don't see it. I just don't see it there. Interactive, yeah, definitely. It definitely has a potential to be really, really good in interactions. Like, think about you have a game and what you say is put into text. That text then put into an AI, and then the AI responds, sends text back, that goes into a voice over a text-to-speech engine, basically, and you have like a full-on conversation with an NPC. In that manner, AI is extremely great. We can have something like that working. That's why I say, like, in an interactive medium, AI has potential. But as a creative one, no. And as a learning medium, I also have to say no. There are a lot of sites, for example, Duolingo, trying to make AI work in order to learn a language. And it just doesn't work. It teaches you stuff that is not correct grammar, that is not correct language. It is not even correct behaviorism that you would learn from an actual language teacher. It does its job, LLM does its job for like a quick and very, very rough translation. But it's always really, really rough. Because the one thing that AI cannot deal with is context. If you say a sentence, yeah, let's pick a sentence like I want to go home. A sentence like that, regarding on the context, can have completely different meaning. Yes, the quintessence is that you want to go home, but there's much, much more emphasis between it. Yeah, it's okay. Then let's not put it as a learning, that it would be great for learning. AI is great for searching. AI is great for searching and summarizing. That's what AI can do. That's what AI is good at. It can give you a quick glimpse on what is it about. Gives you a quick summary of, let's say, Shakespeare. Yes. Will you understand Shakespeare through that? No. You have to have read any Shakespearean book yourself in order to understand what Shakespeare's novels are even about. Or let's take another example. Let's take an example for Arthur Conan Doyle. Let's take Sherlock Holmes. You will not grasp what Sherlock Holmes is really about when you just read the summary that AI puts out for you. That's not possible. You have to have read it yourself. You have to experience the novel yourself. Even if you watch a Sherlock Holmes movie, you will not grasp what it's actually about because it's a different interpretation. Someone did the work for you, tries to explain it to you, and at that rate, it's only playing telephone. But to actually know what those stories are about, you have to experience it yourself. It's like, let's put an example. Someone who played Final Fantasy X will have a better understanding what Final Fantasy X is about than someone that watched a live stream of Final Fantasy X. That's why, yes, AI can summarize it, but to actually get an understanding, you have to do it yourself. Always. Even Wikipedia articles will not help you. Okay. That's why it's a good tool to get a quick overview, and then when you want to dig deeper, you have to dig deeper manually. You cannot just rely on AI. It can give you a quick overview like Google does and go from there and see how things are developing from there. Okay, as to where I send you off to, I sent you off to Polygon. They are currently playing skate dot. I don't know if the dot is important there, but yeah. We will see each other tomorrow when we go back into the Tales of series. Until then, bye.